A lot of
And
wrestling
of
happened
course,
this
I
week.
could have skipped this week because I'm a little behind. Because last week I was out of sorts because I didn't have a console, so I was kind of,
Hey, you good? You're good. I'm feeling. Uh, I'm about to. Yeah, let's go. Trinity. Good, brother. Good. I mean, obviously that break, it was good for everybody. Got the recharge. Took a small break from wrestling. Spent a lot of time with family. I mean, I had like family over. Miami family, LA family. We had a big fan reunion. It was fun. It was crazy. It was like about we went all over. I mean, like, and these are family like from New Miami. So like we went to New York. We took the ferry. We went to North Jersey. We just did a lot, man. It was exhausting when everything came. Everything was done and over with. Yeah, especially them. Especially like they're from Miami, so we're not gonna see them all the time. So
yeah. Let's see. I didn't have a console for about a week, so let's just say, yeah, things were a little stressful, and yeah,
I've been there,
it's
Paul.
amazing how much I missed it. Yep. Well, and it's my online stuff is a big part of my social side. So yeah. So yeah, the
Oh,
capture card
got the
gun. Yeah. So
Elgato capture
yeah.
card.
And it's Avermedia, but same idea. Yeah. What
Oh
happened
man.
was the lightning came through the coaxial cable, hit the cable modem, fried it, and then through the cable modem, it went through the Ethernet cord to my PC and to the Xbox, fried the network functionality of the Xbox all the way. No Wi-Fi, no Ethernet, no nothing. And through either that or through the PC, it hit my capture card and took it out as well. So
Oh, that's never bloody good.
Damn.
let's just say when that happened, I was a little stressed out. In fact, earlier tonight, I was talking to some friends. We were playing Diablo 4, and the power went out for a second, and everything went off. And
Oh
my
no.
first thought was, "Oh no, not again!"
Yeah. Oh man, nah.
and then usually my computer starts up real quick, so I can check things out really quick. Because if my computer goes out, I lose my because of the way I'm set up for streaming. I lose my access to the screen for my game for my console as well. So
Yeah.
what's the computer want to do? Well, since we're restarting, we have this update we've been hanging on to. So we're going to update your PC.
Ah, yeah,
10
good.
minutes later, as I'm going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't you dare do it.
Yeah.
Oh man,
So
nah.
yeah, but I've been back in Diablo 4 the last couple of days and I've reached level 79 now. So
Oh, nice. Getting close to that.
Getting ready for the season 1 on Thursday and the patch on Tuesday.
I'm about to say, yeah, the new season is dropping this week.
Getting close to
the season drops on Thursday. The patch goes live on Tuesday with all the changes they've made.
You're getting close to that Hunji. You're getting close to the Hunji. Oh, whew. 11 away.
Yeah, last 20 is going to take a while.
Yeah, last 20. Yeah, that's it. No, it's gonna be good. I've seen a few people reach the 100 mark. So it's definitely a slog, but it's a well worthwhile slog, and it's a game that keeps you on your toes and keeps you interested. Like you said, once you complete the actual story part, the game fully just opens up even more so. So it's, hope everybody's looking forward to season 1. It's going to be.
I am. I'm definitely looking forward to season 1. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that new Street Fighter character coming out.
Yeah.
Now, I got put off by Bax. What did he say? Sounds like the pineapple farmers found where Cerebral lives.
Oh, jeez, just. I'm gonna start muting people in chat. I swear to God.
He started already. I'm waiting for PK or someone else to come in now. Pineapple.
Yeah, he always does. Yeah.
Oh, but hey, hang on. Your little opposition's in the chat though. Hey, we've got to set that up, Yobi. In AEW.
Yeah, we got to hook that up for next week. For next Monday, we got to get that done before next Monday. So
get your character ready, bro.
Then we can run it on the show. Get
your character ready. It's gonna be on and popping.
Okay, I got to throw this out there. It's wrestling related, and it has to do with Friday's show because I'm watching it right now because I'm catching up. And the hymen got laid out.
Okay, he did, so yes, I'm happy.
Oh, yeah.
He
got Peter, he looking like Peter Griffin out there, got laid out.
It was definitely beautiful to see. Finally. Hey, what's good, 3-bit? What's good, bro? It was about time, man. I think we've been waiting for weeks and months for just a kick to the face or anything, and we finally got it. He could have sold it a bit better, though, I must say. He could have sold it a little bit better, but
they could have given him a blood pack. I would have liked that.
Yeah. And
bite down on this. Yeah.
Hopefully the next one he cops is when Solo turns and he gets the old thumb to the throat.
I was about to say that he's about to get the thumb.
Yeah. Actually, it's interesting. Before we do get in the topic, talking about that move, I just seen another one of their bloodline. It's actually got around on Twitter, the clip. I think it's another younger cousin of theirs.
It's
Umaga's son. Yeah, and he does it, but he kind of does it a little bit more viciously. I think the way he kind of executes it. I'm like, now that would be an interesting little matchup if you had him going against his cousin in a thumb war.
Yeah, thumb war is crazy.
Thumb war. It's funny because I'm pretty sure it's the exact same hand and thumb that they've got wrapped up. So they just obviously have their own unique ways of obviously doing it. But I think Umaga's son, I don't know, just the way he kind of executes it looks a little bit more. I mean, I don't know how you can be more aggressive, but it does. It looks a bit more aggressive, a bit more sort of oomph put into it.
Well, that's good because that's what sells it. That's what
Yeah. So no, it was cool to see. But let's get into the first topic of the evening, which is an interesting one because those that know the surroundings around why Rick Steiner was kind of getting barred from things and not getting invited to things, and of course his son. There was people worried about his son copping it for some of his comments recently. He's been allowed back. So WrestleCon's owner has addressed the booking of Rick for another event, despite his Giselle Shaw comments. And those that do not know Giselle Shaw, she is a transgender woman that wrestles in Impact Wrestling. So during WrestleMania 39 weekend, so we're going back to April, Giselle Shaw, as I just mentioned, transgender wrestler and a star in Impact Wrestling, came forward with allegations that the Hall of Famer Rick Steiner made derogatory remarks directed at her during the 2023 WrestleCon event earlier this year. These claims were supported by Impact referee Daniel Spencer and Impact personality and backstage interviewer Gia Miller. In light of these allegations, the Steiner brothers have been scheduled to appear at WrestleCon events during the Summerslam weekend in Detroit. Michael Basicchio, the owner of WrestleCon, has released a statement addressing the situation. He said, "I'm going to address Rick Steiner issue here instead of responding to every post. Hope everyone takes the time to read, but I also understand if you choose not to hear another side." He said, "Rick made completely inappropriate remarks to Giselle at our event in Los Angeles earlier this year. As soon as we were made aware of what happened, we swiftly addressed the issue, but we never shared details of what happened at the event." He went on to add, "In hindsight, it was probably a mistake not to share more details during or immediately after the event concluded. He himself takes full responsibility." He said, went on to add, "My wife died 3 weeks after the LA show at the age of 46 after a long battle with cancer. I made a lot of mistakes during that time. However, at no time then or after do we condone the remarks of Rick made in LA. We did not fail to act after we were notified, and as a result, we removed him from the convention for the duration of that event. Rick's poor decision forever impacted his brand, relationships with the wrestling community, and alienated many of his fans." One of the positive things, though, Rick did, and it was not publicised, is immediately apologised to Giselle. He apologised to also to members of the WrestleCon staff. He apologised to many of his fellow wrestlers and offered apologies to the members of the Impact Wrestling staff that chose to hear from him at a private mediated event. Now, even though he did apologise to Giselle, she chose not to attend that event, which we, everybody involved 100% understood, supported, and still support to this day. She had no obligation to hear anything from Rick, nor should she ever feel obligated to accept any apology from him then or now. Now that we are 2.5 to 3 months beyond this event, I feel that Rick learned a lot from his huge mistake. I know it's easier to cancel people when they make mistakes than to forgive and help educate. However, sometimes I think it's important that we give people a second chance. That being said, Rick will be forever be on a zero tolerance scale moving forward at any of our events. Same with his brother Scott. If we are proven wrong that he has not learned from his mistakes, we will enforce a permanent ban altogether. That is not to imply that everyone gets one free strike. We continue to strive to have an environment where everyone feels safe and included. If we are faced with issues that compromise that environment, we will take all necessary action. So that's a bit of a mouthful to get through, but
I was about to say that was all in the letter.
Yeah. So he went right into, as you could see, he went right into detail about everything, and to give an explanation, because people seen that Rick was advertised for this upcoming WrestleCon in Detroit, and there was a lot of people that were quite angry about it, as if they just kind of went with, he got a slap on the wrist and nothing really happened. But obviously it was kind of evident that he did, and he got banned for a period of time. And I think my takeaway from this, and what I think people need to understand, is the ages of Rick and Scott Steiner. So the era that they grew up in. And not just for comments like this, but I understand when it comes to people their age and even older. I mean, they grew up in a time where, none of this was accepted, where it was man and woman getting married, and that was it, right? And I've got a lot of gay friends myself. I've got a few transgender friends, and even they, do it once, they can probably, accept your apology and move on. If you're continuously doing, obviously it's kind of evident you're not learning from your mistake, or not willing to, how do I put it, educate yourself and move forward with how everything is in today's world. As I like to say, I truly still believe this. I mean, one of these days, maybe a statistician will actually do the stats, but I truly believe this day and age, there's more LGBTQ and transgender in this world than there is straight people this day and age. I believe we're outnumbered.
That.
Yeah,
and that's not. I believe that too.
Yeah, that's not a bad thing. It's just it's more accepted now, so therefore people are feeling more comfortable to come out and, say I'm transgender, or I feel I was meant to, I was born a man, but I feel like I was meant to be a woman, a girl this time and whatnot, or coming out as gay, etc., etc. So, but again, I think it's important to realise, as long as he's educating himself and by the sounds of it, regardless that she's not willing to hear him out or accept his apology,
she has that right. She does have that right
yes.
to say that I don't want to apologize. I don't care for your apology or whatever.
No. And I commend him because he's obviously at least taken the approach of apologising, and he apologised to the staff that was obviously at the WrestleCon and apologised to Impact Wrestling staff that's obviously behind her because she's a part of their roster and stuff like that were obviously there and within earshot around of what he said. But again, he grew up in that time because Rick Steiner, he's got to be in his
the one thing I don't agree with that letter is, Rick Steiner's on zero tolerance, and so is his brother Scott. Scott.
Well, I'm about to say
why did he have to throw Scott under that same bus? I
know Scott has a history of saying wild stuff, but I'm gonna say at this moment in juncture,
right?
Scott didn't say anything. This is a Rick issue.
This is a Rick thing,
I think because they're like they've always been like glued to each other.
Well, I get that, but by naming him as well, it's like he did something wrong as well. And what they should have done is said from there on, none of our wrestlers are on.
Maybe
I think that would have been better too, Paul.
And they were side by side. I think that's maybe why. And obviously Scott didn't exactly speak up, so in a sense, I suppose they looked at it like, oh well, he obviously agrees with him. He's not pulling his brother aside, saying, hey, But Scott, I mean, maybe not in this sense, but I know Scotty's got a track record. I know with fans, a lot of fans cannot stand him, and
I get that. I absolutely get that. I'm just saying that in this case, there was no reason to call him out a name.
He wasn't the one to say stuff, but I mean,
yeah.
If he also is sitting side by side with him and didn't, pull him up or try to, I don't know.
But we don't know if he did or not. We don't know if when they got home or later he said, dude.
That's probably, possibly where he could have,
Yeah.
But I do know.
Go ahead,
before you go off, I do know that Bron, the son, came out.
Yeah, that was going to be my next point right there, too.
He came out and said because there was worry that, because we've seen it happen in WWE before where someone else's comments reflected on somebody else. And
right.
I was happy to hear when, I don't know who it was in the management or anything, but it could have been that Nick Khan, came out and said it's not going to have any effect on Bron. Bron's his own person, right? Bron also came out and said, I love my dad, but I don't agree with anything of the way he thinks and what.
And I'm glad that WWE did that. The last thing you want to do is punish a kid for what their father said. Like, I mean, we might as well go. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, I was going to say also the WWE may have advised Braun, you may want to get out in front of this and say something.
Yeah,
that too. I could definitely see that. But what I was going to say, like we just saw on Collision, David Benoit was there. I mean, we can't keep holding. I know we got our feelings when it comes to his dad, and them feelings are probably never going to change, but we can't blame the kid for what that person did.
No. On a side note, I kept spinning out, man. God, he looks like his father.
Whew. No, me too. I literally thought, I was looking, I was like, what the hell is this?
I was like, isn't he?
I didn't even know he had a son. I didn't know he had another kid.
No, initially, because I knew that he had David, right, and I'd seen David before, and he's been trying. WWE wouldn't hire him because
I get it.
Yeah, because he actually does want to wrestle as, he wants to wrestle as the Crippler Junior David Benoit, right? He wants to keep that name. The only company that looks like they're going to give him a shot, from what I've been reading here, is AEW. And even so, he still might have to come to a compromise and maybe not go with the Benoit last name.
To me, and again, that's making the son suffer for the sins of the father.
It does, it does.
And he was as much a victim of all of that as
Here's two sides on the other side of the coin. All right, you also give.
But everybody's going to know who he is anyway. But
but
that's what I'm. Yeah.
But one, he makes his own path by not living in his dad's shadow because let's just take away what Chris did on the outside. Him being the son of Chris Benoit, who to this day is still top 3 easily, greatest technical wrestler in that ring. Put on 5-star matches in his sleep.
Yep.
You know, that's a hard thing to follow. And beside that, of course, as we know, the tragedy that took place. And I've even got my own feelings. You know, everybody's probably got their own feelings and thoughts on that whole situation. I myself, you know, obviously he did what he did, but there's more to it. It's not just a simple like, oh, you know, he woke up one day and decided to kill himself and kill his wife and kill his other child and that. He had the brain of a 90-something-year-old Alzheimer's patient from
them headbutts, like
the flying headbutts, yeah. And he always took the brunt of a chair shot because he loved the realism of it all and everything.
I'm about to say AEW are changed up their rules to all that.
That's a subject we're going to get into in a little bit too. But no, at first I had to look twice because I spaced for a minute, not remembering. I knew David existed, but I was looking. I'm like, hang on a second. Is it what the? I was like, am I seeing a ghost? Like, and then I'm like, oh no, that's David. That's David. And see, his other son, the one that was a part of the tragedy, actually looked more like his mother Nancy. It just in the face and everything. David, on the other hand, was from a prior relationship again before Chris got with Nancy, looks spitting image of him. Like, down to a T, looks like Chris Benoit. So, no, it was good to see, and I think that's a sign. I think he's been training with Darren, and that might be a sign, you know, he was a plant in the crowd kind of thing, that we will be seeing him soon. Whether or not that's, again, under David Benoit name or not is up for speculation, but I think
there's going to be a lot of hurdles they're going to have to jump through if they want to keep that, because you also got to take into account the wife's sister. Yes, because the wife's sister probably is going to have a type.
I think if he wants to,
I could disagree. I could be wrong on that too.
I think if he comes in, I don't think he'll obviously could stay as David, but it'd be David something else, maybe his mum's maiden name, for example. And I think he could get away with calling him the Crippler, like using his dad's nickname. Because the nickname was to do with wrestling, had nothing to do with the outside. So if he wanted to pay homage just in that sense, you know, at the end of the day, it was his. No one can help.
Now, the trick for the Crippler is, does WWE own those rights to that character?
No. I know that he actually ended up having the rights to his own naming rights and stuff like that. But even so, they've distanced themselves and don't want nothing to do with anything associated or named anything. Yeah, you know. So, you know, he'll probably get away with that. I just don't know about the last name, and I know he wants to use it and he wants to pay homage to his dad and for what his dad did in between the ropes. And again, he probably has his own thoughts and, you know, feelings on the whole situation too, and he probably knows a hell of a lot more than any of us fans know what was going on with Chris as well. So there's that as well. At the end of the day, it's still his dad, you know, and he obviously still respects what his dad did and accomplished in the ring. Yeah. And I've always said, at least with this situation, the two situations need to be kept separate. What happened in the real world was in the real world. What he did in the ring, he did in the ring, you know, and he was playing the character.
And because I remember it was his half brother too. Yeah. So I mean, it's not like he's totally unaware. You know, it probably affected him deeply at the time.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, he would have had to go. I'm pretty sure he's had interviews where he's talked about the crap he copped when he went to school over it. You know, oh, your dad's a murderer. You know.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Yeah,
what that does to a kid's psyche.
Yeah,
like, honestly,
I'm so happy for him. Like how he's turned out though. Like after going through something.
He looks like he's a good dude.
Yeah.
I'm just judging by like I don't personally him. I don't follow him.
No, but he's
just from that video. Yeah, like from his body language, he seems like he's doing all right in life and is trying to overcome this, and that's all you can ask for.
Exactly. But moving on to the next topic of the evening. Now, this one was an interesting one. I knew it had to come at some point because he does get under people's skin. But AAA had their big kind of WrestleMania, Triple Mania over the weekend down in Tijuana, Mexico. And a fan wasn't a plant. A fan attacked Don Callis. So Don Callis, as anybody knows, he's a master at being able to provoke strong emotions in people to the extent that one fan in Mexico took it upon themselves to physically assault the controversial manager. So at AAA's Triple Mania, the main event, of course, featured El Hijo del Vikingo, Mr. Flippy Floppy, as I like to call him, defending his AAA Mega Championship against AEW's Kenny Omega. Previously in a matchup in AEW, Omega had emerged victorious in a non-title bout. But this time, Vikingo emerged triumphant and retained his title. But during the match, Don attempted to be present at ringside to support Vikingo and oppose Omega. However, Conan intervened, instructing Callis to leave and return backstage. Now, during the post-show press conference, Callis confronted Omega, leading to Takeshita making an appearance and launching an attack on Omega. And initially, these incidents were part, as we're aware, of a scripted storyline to continue the storyline between Don and Kenny. However, the situation escalated when a fan decided to take in his own hands and target Callis. So according to the Wrestling Observer, Don was unexpectedly assaulted by a disgruntled fan from behind at the press conference. Up until that point, everything had been planned angle. But this particular fan, evidently upset with Callis' words directed at Kenny, launched a surprise attack. The assailant tore Callis' suit, caused a concussion by striking his eardrum quite hard, and inflicted injuries to his mouth while attempting to choke him out from behind.
He tried to run a lick on him.
He was, man. Callis vehemently protested and hurled profanities at the fan before eventually being pulled away. And following the incident, he was described as hurt, but also as very furious. Alvarez further clarified that the fan's assault on Callis was unequivocally genuine. And again, reiterated it was not part of the scripted events. So as a result of the attack, Callis suffered injuries to his neck, his face and ankle. He was subsequently transported to San Diego for medical attention. And there is a video that's gone around too of the incident, but it does provide limited visibility, unfortunately, because of whoever was filming. They were more focused on the scripted stuff with. So it was taking place as Takeshita and Kenny were going at it. So that's why the security was caught off guard, because they were part of the scripted stuff. So they're trying to pull Takeshita and Omega apart. And while that's going on, that's when the fan took his opportunity. So I'll start with you first, Paul. Your thoughts on this? Fans, taking things a bit too serious.
I was not aware of this situation, but I will say that, most fans need to realize that it's not real.
I know.
I know that's hard for some of them to understand, but they are athletes, they do athletic stuff, but it's not real.
No.
It's like to kind of bring it around, it's like the Three Stooges. You know how many times Curly was poked in the eye by people thinking that that the eye jabs were real, so they would walk up to him and poke him in the eye.
Yeah.
And he's like, no. But But kind of funny because just the other day I was watching where a Down syndrome kid back when Steve Austin was wrestling. I think he was wrestling Shawn Michaels.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
And he jumped out and he had a problem, and so they stopped the match and Shawn helped the kid up, helped him go to the back, and but it was all because the kid, he didn't understand, but that's an that's an exception to the rule. That
No, but what the only
a
thing
normal
I will add, and like even what you're talking about with the Shawn Michaels case, right? And Shawn was obviously playing the heel at the time.
right.
I know these fans, well, in that case, he didn't understand and he had, he needed to be explained thing to. But in this case, obviously, this fan just took things seriously. But what I will say is, I feel sorry for Don. Like, you shouldn't have got that far.
He shouldn't have been in that.
No,
you gotta have security there all the time.
But if you're a heel and the fans jump in the barrier to come out, all I can say is, bravo, you are doing your job and you are doing your job spectacularly.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is a fact.
But even so, fake or not, if he ever had to really protect himself and lay somebody out, you would not want to be on the other end of that.
Another thing I was about to say, like some of those wrestlers like live for I'm waiting for you to come out and so I could just pop you.
Brock
they
Lesnar,
live for that.
Brock Lesnar does antagonize his fans all the time when he's a heel. He does it all the time. Like, come on, jump.
I'm about to say, you are never going to see anybody try to take a shot at Brock Lesnar. You will be a stupid idiot to do that.
Yeah, even if you're.
But now,
even if you're
we also wish
size,
that. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, even if you're a guy that was similar size, you'd still be crazy because unless you are trained, even in mixed martial arts, since he'd done that and he was pretty decent at that. He's going to eat you alive.
Champion.
Yeah, he's going to eat you alive.
Well, and here's the thing. Usually when they call out the audience and stuff, security is aware and they know which side of the audience he's going to bark to. Yeah. And so they're
Do you guys remember the Seth Rollins situation when he got attacked?
Yeah. And I remember when Bret Hart a couple of years ago, he was in the ring and he was doing a speech, and I think it was in NXT.
It was the Hall of Fame. It was the Hall of Fame. I remember that too.
Yeah, and a guy came in the ring and tried to. I'm like, why the freaking hell is someone trying to attack Bret? He's not in character, and he just. I'm like, okay, someone that didn't like him when in his wrestling days. I was like, okay, wow. You know what? I'm surprised no one. I don't know if I've ever heard, but so correct me if he's either one of you's heard. But I'm surprised no one's tried to do it with Vince. I'm surprised
people have tried to go after Vince in real because they confuse Vince the character with Vince the CEO.
Yeah. But
Vince the character and Vince the CEO are two.
Of course, I think I was going to say I think Vince the CEO is actually worse. Vince the character is actually nicer.
Yeah, from all accounts. But I mean, I feel sorry for Don because, he really is.
He's had a string of bad luck too. I remember, he got hurt by accident during the whole, during the build up of this original story. He got hurt and cut up. I remember.
Hence the big.
Then
scar
now
on
it's
his
this.
Head. Yeah. And now this, and he really lives by to the term.
And Don seems like he's a good dude. Don seems like he's a good dude.
He's a lover, not a fighter, though. Hence why he's always been a manager. So he's not like he did if you watched AEW last week, in his early days, he was a wrestler, but he soon realized that he just didn't really have the talent as a wrestler or in-ring performer. So that's why he went on to becoming a manager, even when he was known as Cyrus for a while in the Attitude Era. And he used to manage, I think he managed the Acolytes for a little while and a couple of others in the Attitude Era of WWF. But yeah, he's definitely a better manager than he ever was as a wrestler. So he's not the physical type. And I'm quite sure because, people, if you're not realizing, him and Kenny are still well and truly good backstage, very, very close. This is all just storyline. But if Kenny hadn't noticed, you probably would have seen Kenny actually break character and probably come over and put the boots to the fan because him and Don are very, very close.
They're related.
Yeah.
I thought they were related too.
No, no, they're not related by blood, but Don's known him since he was a little boy. So that whole what they've added into the story that's actually true. That's how long and far back those two go with each other. Just like Don and Chris Jericho. He's Don's been very very close with Chris Jericho since Chris was late teens, very early 20s. So even if they were to say have a feud and this happened, Chris would have broke character instantly. That's where you probably would have seen people break character and go, hang on a second, no. But I feel sorry for Don because he got blindsided by this. He didn't even see it coming. You know, it could have been different if he had seen it coming. He could have at least attempted to defend himself somewhat, but this was all from behind. And again, props to him. Like, hey, you're doing your job. You got the fan hating you and riled up, but this is where security really needed to be on top of it, and they should have noticed. I mean, it was still happening close by to the actual scripted stuff, so half of them or a couple of them could have easily left the Kenny situation, because that obviously wasn't a real situation between him and Takesh. That was just playing out as it was meant to be, and gone over to help poor Don. And in a sense, is not too late, but a little too late, because the fan had already got his licks in before they come out.
I'm about to say he got his licks in by that point. So.
Yeah, and he was choking the poor guy out. Like, he obviously had him in like I'm guessing the way they were describing, like a sleeper type hold from behind kind of thing, choke hold, and yeah, I'm like, God damn. But I mean, some fans are just crazy, and he. Down in Mexico, I watch a lot of AAA, I watch a lot of CMLL. The fans down there are crazy. They are crazy, they are nuts.
You mean like football fans in the rest of the world?
Yeah,
Wow.
like Vampiro, who was big back in the WCW day, but he was even bigger again, obviously, in his home country, Mexico. He had a couple incidents over the years where he's playing the heel, and he got attacked. But I mean, at the same time, unlike Don, he's trained up in martial art and all kinds of stuff, so he can defend himself. And he ended up like pretty much destroying the fan. But yeah, this was just an unfortunate thing, and like you said, Josh, the poor guy's gone through it a bit. Like he wasn't meant to get cut as badly as what he did in that scripted stuff, a month or so ago, where he got opened up. That's why he's got the big scar on his head. And now this, and he sounds like he's going to be all right, but he sounds a little bit banged up from it. The poor guy.
I would be too if I got basically mugged.
Yeah. But no, it's always interesting when you hear stories like this. Like JBL, he's copped it too, because he had a thing when he started becoming the JBL character. He would fully stay in character, even if he wasn't working a show and people seen him out and about. He would completely stay in character, stay in that asshole mode, I guess you could say, with him, and fans would just believe it, like that's how he really was. And the only wrestler I know of, and it's just because of more fan stories lean this way than any other way, is Scott Steiner legitimately is a prick.
I would believe it.
Yeah, he legitimately is. He legitimately is. He's just forgotten that if it wasn't for the fans, he'd be a nobody. But he's the only one really. Like JBL wasn't entertaining. He just stayed in character because it just worked for him and brought him more heat. When he turned into JBL from being the beer drinking APA guy, he coloured he dyed his hair and he shaved his beard and he went for that business look, and he's meant to be a power broker. I'm better than you. I got more money. So he played it. He played it and he played it well. But like when he had to do. When he actually had to do like the fan fest and stuff, then you'd actually see him. He'd still stay in character, sort of like how you see MJF do it, but they do it in a more light-hearted tone, and fans.
I'm about to say
fans kind of
want to be careful with the MJF character too.
Yeah, because
He had
that's what the fans want to see.
They want
know,
him, they turn up with
Yeah.
MJF, for example, and they want him to insult them because they know that's him and that's his character, and it's like a thing for them. You know,
Yeah.
it's like one fan back in the day. I remember they wanted Sting to hit them with his bat, and they wanted him to hit him in the face, but he ended up just doing the old jab to the guts, and the fans like going nuts. I just got hit by Sting, like, oh my god.
Yeah.
But,
Well, it's like I mentioned the Shawn Michaels thing, and I read some articles on when that happened, and they said, he no matter how much of a dick that some people think he is in real life, he was always really good with the kids.
He was.
Because most of the wrestlers know that that's their audience, and they have to be, they have.
That's half the reason, apart from obviously his back, he left for a while because he got too into himself, and he admitted that, and then he went away and he found God and found peace and completely sort of changed his ways because he did get too arrogant and cocky and started thinking he was bigger than the company, and he admits, he looks back, he hated. Like he loved a lot of the times back then, but he hated himself, and that's why he went when he was away healing his back and stuff for those few years that he was gone. He made changes. Sting did the same thing. Sting, when he was Surfer Sting, he's talked about in interviews before. He got like Shawn Michaels, got cocky. He was a bit of a party boy and thought he was, king shit, so to speak. And he's another one that went away, and that's where he did the whole transformation to the Crow and that. And in that period, he found God and, changed his ways and realised, I don't like the person that I am, And so, I've seen a few wrestlers apart from those two boys too to do that and have that, I guess, reality check. Yep. But again, they were both.
But it is cool that for that situation, he totally broke character.
Yeah,
got really quiet, really gentle.
Even when he was like, that's the one thing with Shawn too. Like, even though he didn't like himself at the time, and he realised that he was a dick, he was still very good with children because he knew children were there, and children looked up to him, and. He was like a rock star to the kids. They liked this, the bad boy brash, like coming out and dancing.
Mm-hmm.
They loved that.
Yep.
But, he was good. He was good in that regard. So I mean, even though he didn't.
And then at the end of that clip, the part that got cut off is apparently Stone Cold actually held the ropes open for him to let him back in the ring.
Yeah.
Because I think at that point they realized, oh, he's special, or that he had Down syndrome. I forgot what it was. I think it was he had Down syndrome. I think
something like that.
Yeah, he did.
That's not something.
The kid had Down syndrome, so he didn't quite understand where the line.
There's been a couple of fans over the years with that, and obviously it takes them a little bit to process stuff, and they process stuff differently. So that was good that they took him back, and I'm guaranteed that they would have gave him some free merchandise and stuff. And because there was an incident, I just forget who was involved and what company, but there was another Down syndrome and who also had mental health issues as well, and something got spilled or thrown on them, and they got real distraught, and it wasn't a planned thing. And so they took the kid backstage and.
Are you talking about the MJF incident?
That might have been the one. Yeah, he got real distraught.
I don't think he had Down syndrome. That's the thing. I think that wasn't planned at all. And that kid was just like, "Yo, this dude just threw fucking alcohol at me and it burnt."
Yeah,
like I don't think that was a Down syndrome one. I think that was just like a stupid move by MJF, and I'm an MJF fan, but that was just a stupid move.
Yeah, well, unless you obviously like. Talk to the fan, plan, which they have actually done over the years, so at least the fans prepared. You shouldn't be doing that because things can happen. So I'm glad they rectified things like when that happens. And as I said, there's been a few times over the years. That was probably the latest one with MJF. And taking them backstage and letting them meet some people, and that sort of calmed them down.
Like I have a friend of mine who's 8-year-old kid. He's totally normal. He's fine, but he's on the spectrum. Right. So if anything goes wrong or goes unexpected, he trips into it's not a tantrum per se, but he will get very, very upset very quickly. So you have to,
Yeah. So
it's,
it's hard, because as I said,
Yeah.
you're looking out into the crowd, you're not going to be able to tell initially.
Yeah.
So until you start talking or talking to their parent if they've turned up with their parent, but
yeah.
it's good when you see them sort of rectify the situations like that and help them out and explain things to them, and that's kind of all they really need in the end of it. But moving right along on to the next topic, which was just brought up a bit earlier, so it's a good one to sort of move into now. AEW has announced a list of banned moves, but at the same time, they've also, sources in AEW believe, there won't be many changes after the new rules are implemented. So, according to reports within AEW, the recently implemented rules regarding certain moves are not expected to bring about significant changes or issues, with minimal repercussions anticipated. So earlier in the week, it was revealed that AEW had introduced bans on specific moves under certain circumstances to prioritise the safety of their talent. However, the latest update suggests that the primary objective is to ensure that there is variety and uniqueness throughout the show rather than solely focusing on dangerous maneuvers. Wrestling Observer...
Cap.
Yeah.
Cap. It's cap.
The Wrestling Observer
Because
newsletter...
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, the Wrestling Observer newsletter reports that these moves are still permitted but require approval from producers and coaches involved in the match. The aim is to avoid repetitive spots occurring too frequently within the same show. The report further states that an AEW wrestler mentioned the possibility of minor fines if a move is performed in the moment without prior approval, but it is not expected to have a significant impact or alter the overall product in any way, shape or form. Now, when they broke it out, of course, Meltzer was all over it, and he actually heard from a lot of guys that there was truth to it when it was all coming out. But aside from the fact that Bryan Danielson did the convulsing thing in his match,
Yo, that is crazy.
Yeah, that nobody
He
really
did it twice.
Yeah, and everybody before there was a lot of people backstage. Meltzer said that was very angry with him because nobody at all, apart from him, thought it was a good idea. So that will never actually be done again in AEW.
Let's not forget the table spot by Cody years ago.
Right.
That was like, that's terrible.
The spot recently, and now Kenny Omega is one, he doesn't really care, and he was telling fans off, let me wrestle the way I want to wrestle. You care way too much about our well-being. Let us take care of our well-being, because fans were clamoring for like that move that dropped him on his head in the Will Ospreay match, and he went off. He went off and goes, I don't give a crap. You're worrying about things that you don't need to worry about. That was his opinion on it. However,
he's very right. He's very right about that too.
Yeah.
At the end, they were not wrestlers, so we just hope that they end up they are okay after the move is done.
Exactly. However, AEW President Tony Khan reportedly met with Dr. Chris Nowinski. Now, for those who don't know Chris Nowinski, he at one time was a wrestler in the WWE, and he had his career cut very, very short because he copped too many concussions in a row. But so he met with him, and since he stopped wrestling, he's obviously gone and got his doctorate when it comes to concussions in sports altogether. Obviously, he puts a lot of focus on wrestling because that's what he was, about how to best protect the wrestlers now. And so the rules of the ban stuff, those are rules that have already been in place basically since the beginning, just not fully enforced. Meltzer explains, so since the first time Chris met with Tony and talked, and then Nowinski went around and talked to all the wrestlers. Those things that you see as banned, they've always been banned, but Meltzer notes that many of the moves aren't banned as much as they are subject to agents' approval, which Meltzer believes the stars were all seeking anyway. Every now and then something will happen where you want to do something that's improvised because it's not scripted move for move, and you may end up doing that. Meltzer continued, if you're a pro and you're a top guy, they're going to give you the benefit of the doubt with improvisation. According to Meltzer, the in-ring product won't be toned down, and ultimately everything on the list was basically already a standard procedure for the company and televised wrestling in general. But many fans were still concerned, not only with Danielson's convulsions during his match, with a lot of fans believing that he was literally convulsing in the ring.
I was scared for that. I was scared at that point.
He did such a good job acting on that it did look real. He did.
Which is an asshole thing by Daniel Bryan's like,
it
damn,
was,
bro.
It was. But he wanted to make the move that led up to it seem obviously legit, especially being in the ring.
He did that with Kenny when they did their first match at Grand Slam.
He did, yeah.
I was like, yo, that's the only thing you hate about Daniel Bryan, bro. He be playing too much.
Brutal match between Kenny and Will, and Omega's comments was he called out fans for being overly sensitive to the performer's health, and that it's not their concern and not their body. So he, on the other hand, has gone against this, and he's pretty much told Tony his own words, I'll do what I feel comfortable doing.
Well, I'll let you finish because I do have opinions on that.
Yeah. But, look, I agree with his comments somewhat, but at the same time, you got to realize they're showing up and these fans are watching you, and they know you're wrestling a lot stiffer style than WWE's very, very careful, very watered down style that really protects the wrestler altogether. Whereas AEW is more like Mexico and Japan, and hence why a lot of their wrestlers end up very banged up. Because they are wrestling a lot more physical, demanding, again, stiffer style. It's a lot of these guys have had long stints in Japan. They're so used to the strong style where they're going nearly as hard as they can possibly go without obviously going too hard where you're knocking someone out too early and the match has to end too early. But I mean, just look at Orange Cassidy. He's comes out every week now. Recently, he's all taped up. His neck's taped up. His back's taped up. He's got that special tape on. Kenny's been banged up, and he was that banged up. He was out for almost 12 months. Comes back, and now he's banged up again. I think to ban certain moves is okay. Obviously, you don't want to water down your product, but you've also got to look out for people. I mean, this even goes. You go way back in the day, but like WWE started getting really strict on it themselves after Stone Cold broke his neck in that match.
That's when they banned power drivers.
Yeah,
like you don't see power drivers,
and
I'd be surprised if they'd be doing like Canadian destroyers.
AEW, they allow them to do the type of power driver that Owen was known for, that Owen did on Stone Cold. And I, as a fan, they know their body, and I've been on the other side. Not on that stage, but on an independent side. I understand about how you feel after taking bumps and being in the match and taking all that. So I understand from that side. And yeah, it is your body, you know your body best. But you've also got to have that understanding, like these fans that are right into, and they, in a sense, like, I probably wouldn't have gone off of the fans like Kenny did, because I would have taken it more of, hey, I'm glad that they just don't look at us as like, oh, we're here to see you. You do what you have to do to entertain us. Like, that they're actually showing that they give a shit about the wrestlers, their favourite wrestlers' well-being, or any of the wrestlers' well-being. Well, that's a good human quality to have. So I wouldn't have put someone down for that. I probably would have approached it maybe in a little bit better manner. And I love Kenny. I'm a big fan of Kenny, but I think he could have approached it in a little bit better manner, because at the end of the day, hey man, like, I know these people don't know you personally, but come on, at least give them credit for having that humanity, that they don't want you in there breaking your neck or something happens so severely that you die or something, so that's a good thing. They're not just seeing you as an entertainment thing, or, oh, we don't give a shit, you're in there to entertain us, so we don't care what you have to do, kind of thing. And there's been fans over the years that they wouldn't care. Like, that they, like, hey, I paid $200 to come and see you, so I want to see you powerbomb through the freaking ring. I want to see you doing Mick Foley spots all the time, and I don't care. I don't care if you break your vertebrae, break your neck, or whatever.
Mick Foley is the perfect example of a dude who gave it all, but it's like it's now paying for it, like big time.
Big time. You know, but what's your thoughts on it first, Josh? Like on the whole thing?
I mean, if you look at it, I think this was bound to happen eventually. Like they are known to do a lot of extreme things.
Yeah.
And especially if you look at like the new rules, you can literally point to like this is why they had this rule. This is why they had this rule.
Right.
Like they have a rule where you can't take the audience drink anymore. Well, that's the MJF rule. They have a rule where you can't do unplanned table spots. That's the Cody rule when he set himself on fire. Like there are a bunch of you can't bleed in the crowd. There's no more brawling in the crowd. Now I understand that the sake where it comes to the certain moves, the move aspect, like the power driver, which is a very dangerous move, because there's a chance like if you could fuck it up and land on your neck. I mean, they're the company that does the power driver from the top rope, so they'll like jump off and might land on your neck. So I guess it depends on who's the wrestler. Like Kenny, I could trust Kenny because Kenny, even though he wants to go hard nonstop, he does want to protect. He will protect others and himself. The only thing is that I just want you around. I want you to be able to like to walk around. Like I don't know how old Kenny is. I want to say like maybe late 30, early 40s. But I want Kenny to be around for a little bit longer. Like I do want him to be around. Like I want him to wrestle for a little bit longer. I don't want he's already on record saying like, yo, if I get her real bad one more time, he might have to call it a career. Because remember when he was on that little hiatus when he first lost the championship?
Yeah. And he needed to take that because his body was wrecked.
Yes. That's what I'm saying. I'm just like, yeah, I get it, but like, yo, just know, like, be careful, bro.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's ways that they can still make it look exciting and everything without putting their health in risk, you know. And they do have to be careful with those pile drive. You don't want your head, and the head should never connect with the actual mat, especially with the impact that they're dropping sometimes. You know, when they drop down and stuff like that.
And they do wild. I mean, the less than the 90, the power driver Will Ospreay did on Kenny was very violent and scary.
Yeah,
I've seen Dax Harwood power drive Jay Briscoe off the top rope.
I've seen back in the day Undertaker mistimed it, and I forget who he was wrestling, but he almost broke the neck because the dude's head bounced off of the ring mat. And actually connected.
Like this.
Then
this is why it's like, go ahead.
Then he obviously adjusted the way he did it, and if you noticed from that point onwards, their heads were nowhere near the mat when Undertaker would do the tombstone. Like absolutely nowhere near. They were a good few inches above the actual mat, and he was a lot more careful after that point. So it's good when a wrestler obviously knows it themselves and they have to adjust the move. And then there's some wrestlers that'll stop doing a certain move. You know, there was a time there for a while, I'm pretty sure, that Seth, I don't know if he wasn't allowed to or he stopped, but he wasn't doing the curb stomp for a while. Because I think there was an incident where he went down a little bit too hard and the person's face connected, and they were more worried about a concussion in that sense more than anything else. But it is, I mean, it is. I mean, that style, that's why, I don't know how half the time these Japanese wrestlers don't kill themselves. I really don't. Even the guys in AAA and CMLL, they do some crazy stuff where you just like, damn, like, you know. And there's been a few wrestlers that come out and say, you know, wrestle smarter, not harder. You know,
I mean, that's the one thing that people look at the E as like, listen, as much as we like to do real wrestling or like to go hard in wrestling, I'll say it like that. The WWE is safe. It's like, yo, it's heaven because it's like we don't have to worry about possibly killing ourselves over here because we know a lot of the moves are banned.
Yeah.
So it goes into the aspect of in-ring storytelling and just character storytelling.
Yeah, exactly. What's your thoughts on it, Paul?
I mean, yeah, because even Hulk Hogan says he's shorter than he was when he started.
Yeah.
Because of the leg drops and the way the spine compresses and stuff, and because of the pile drivers and stuff, you know, they compress their spine a lot. You know?
Oh yeah.
But I think I think if the list wouldn't have come out, you know, we as viewers probably wouldn't have noticed any difference.
Right. Right.
If all the drama wouldn't have been brought up, we wouldn't have noticed a difference.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
So
I
think after a while it'll just be part of it, and nobody's gonna go, ooh.
No,
You know.
and they're not going that, that silly extra mile of like completely watering down their product. They're just taking
Right.
more precaution, I guess you could say.
Yep. No, I have said, and I've said it on this show that, and you mentioned it earlier. When you watch WWE, sometimes it looks like they're doing a walkthrough.
Yeah.
It doesn't look real. It doesn't look, and you can tell that it's basically okay. He's adjusting for it. Yeah, he telegraphed that one a long way away.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing I think they need to work on with some of the wrestlers is okay, if we're going to take it easy, that's fine, but we need to work on our timing and our our execution. You got to sell it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because you can be safe and sell it, but like I've said, I find sometimes like what's his name, the big guy, that the one who I think is really bad at it. I can't think of his name again.
Omos?
Jonah, not Omos.
Jonah.
Jonah Reed, I think. Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Sorry, Bronson.
Or is it Bronson?
No.
Yeah, Bronson Reed.
No,
Jonah was his.
Bronson is
independent
just so bad at it. He's just so bad.
Yeah, Jonah was his
Because-
independent name, Jonah
Yeah.
Rock. Yeah.
Because he's slow, and then he makes this kind of contact thing, and you're like, that doesn't hurt. That wouldn't knock me over.
Yeah, right.
And so he doesn't sell it. He doesn't, like we've all seen big guys sell it. Yokozuna used to sell it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, exactly. Especially in his match with Brett.
yeah.
And Brett was like 3/4, half his size,
But when you see somebody jumping off the ropes toward him and he puts out his second hand because he's going to catch the second guy, it's like, dude, don't do that so soon,
Yeah.
Timing. Wait till he's actually there,
Yeah, exactly. He's one guy in WWE.
So that's it. To me, that's all they. I agree. They do need to take it careful because we're never going to see another wrestler like Mick Foley because it's not going to be allowed.
No.
No.
God.
Yeah.
John Moxley might be that next wrestler, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just likes to
but-
bleed.
but-
He just likes to bleed. He does.
Well, okay, and now Bronson Reed is doing the worm. I can't even. No.
No, that's not Bronson Reed. That's not Bronson.
Oh no,
Reed. I know
that's
it's what's Alpha Academy dude name?
the big dude.
Otis.
Yeah.
Otis, yeah, that's Otis too. I'm sorry, yeah, but yeah, no. Yeah, because Otis actually looks like he knows what he's doing, but the worm was a little much. But
Yeah, Otis knows how to work. Otis knows how to work.
The worm should be left to Scotty Too Hotty, and that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
But
But yeah, so I think I'm all for safety and all that because we're not going to see him diving onto rings full of glass anymore.
No.
You know, as much as I enjoyed watching that shit, I'm sorry I did.
Oh, did you see the crazy thing I shared where there's a guy at an independent wrestling show in front of 50 people? He was up at
I saw that
yeah,
one.
he completely missed it and landed on the concrete. I was like, oh shit. I'm like, God.
Oh,
He missed even the padding. He went behind the.
No, they were on the outside, and
It was bad. It was bad.
It was a big shed, and so he's climbed the wall of this shed, and then he was a good way up, and he had the dude on the table, and he overshot the whole table and everything.
Oh no! Ow.
So he literally, but there was nothing cushioning him between where he was and the concrete floor. I don't know.
No.
Yeah,
I've fallen hard on concrete before, and it still freaks me out. If I think I'm gonna fall on concrete, I actually have almost a phobia about it.
It was good that he was showing a little signs of movement, but I mean, he was barely moving. I was like, good God, I don't know how he didn't kill himself because he completely overshot the mark. If he had landed on the actual table, I mean, at least it would have softened the blow to a degree, like landing on the wrestler. But oof, I was just sitting there going splat, like yeah. because he's up high.
And the tables are prepared so they break away easier than they would normally too.
Exactly.
So.
And I agreed with a lot of fans too. Like, why are you doing such a crazy spot at an independent show when there's like 50 people watching? Like, it's not.
Oh wait! Big Bronson Reed versus Shinsuke. No,
Shinsuke.
okay, no, no. That the little dude should beat the crap out of Bronson Reed just out of speed alone.
Yeah, Shinsuke's not scared of nobody.
No, and he's fun to watch. I really enjoy watching him.
Yeah.
Oh, you gotta watch his NXT run, man.
You gotta go watch his.
he
You gotta
is-
go watch his New Japan stuff. My God, like the matchups he had with like guys like Omega and Okada and
AJ Styles.
AJ Styles. Oh, whew. Yeah. That and his NXT run were probably the best runs for him. I just don't think they've been utilising him proper because he should have been a couple of times world champion by now. Like I thought finally they were going to bring in a Japanese wrestler and who came with a big name compared to Japanese wrestlers that came to WWE before him, and I thought they were going to really push him. And it looked like they were on a couple of occasions, and they dropped the ball on it. And I'm like, he's probably never going to be getting that one of those top belts.
Which is too bad because he works the audience really well. I mean,
he has been a world champion in New Japan.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's not a main event guy like he is. He's probably the best Japanese product that WWE's ever had in their company.
Mm-hmm.
And they've had a few over the years from like Taka Michinoku to Funaki, but they've never been on Shinsuke's level. He's just
on that level,
yeah.
Because he's just.
But moving on to the next topic of the evening, which was the AEW had their big 3 hours worth of wrestling over the weekend with Collision and Battle of the Belts 7, and Collision obviously aired first, where they had the finals of the Owen Hart Cup, of course, and they had probably the tag team bout of the frickin' year between FTR and Bullet Club Gold. The 2 out of 3 falls match was probably the best tag team match out of any company I've watched all year. That was insane. So hats off to both those teams because they worked their asses off for that. Like after that first fall, and FTR was trying to tie the series there. Man, they just were kicking out of everything. Everything that they got put through, the Bullet Club guys, they just kept kicking out.
Yeah, that was a great tag team match.
It was, man. It was. And, I know there's a lot of fans that find FTR boring because they do have that old school style of Arn Anderson and Tully, but look, there's no denying that the guys are just magic in that ring when it comes to tag team wrestling. And, They put on a hell of a series of matches with the Briscoes, and they did it again with these two, and I'm glad to see the storyline continue because it's wow. I don't know how they're going to top the next tag team match with Juice and Jay, but damn,
I'm about to say I got an idea who your next tag team might be.
Yeah,
The way things are rolling between Adam Cole and MJF. A lot of people are like, I might not be mad they put the belts on, the tag title belts.
they will, and it's funny because you've got a baby face and a heel, and it's really working the whole thing. Because I know it's still going to lead to those two having a match at All In.
Yeah.
Even if they win the tag team belts, it's probably not going to be for too long, because the whole heel and baby face. Because I personally think Adam Cole's storyline perspective wise is playing him. Like, I think he's playing him like trying to, what's the word I'm looking for? Like sucker him in, like make him feel comfortable. Oh, I'm your friend. Yeah, you got me in, I'm your, but then he's just going to go, nah, see you later, I'm taking that belt, bro. And then of course we've seen the first finals. Ruby Soho made the final again and lost. But
that is crazy.
I was so happy, man, that Willow won.
Willow,
she
definitely
deserves it.
Been putting in the work too.
She has. Man, she deserves it. She was a fitting winner of the tournament this year for the females. And then, of course, we had the men's final, which I enjoyed the match. I didn't enjoy the finish, and I didn't also get the heel turn at all. For starters, I thought.
Ricky went heel.
Yeah, for starters,
I did not even peep that.
no. For starters, the wrong person got turned heel. Because Punk's starting to get that John Cena vibes going on, and he's getting more. But Punk works better as a heel. He is a natural heel. I don't understand why they're turning everybody else around him, and Tony won't at the moment. And it's come out that he will. He is too. He's refusing to turn him. I'm like, I don't know why. He's cash money as a heel. Initially when he came back, because he'd been out for a while, and you want to take advantage of, bring him back as a baby face when he first came back and that, and capitalise on that because the fans were fully chanting for him and everything because it'd been a minute. That was all well and good. But the minute it started going, that's where I would have went, nah, here we go. We've got to go heel Punk. Everybody, fans are screaming for heel Punk. No, they made Ricky after he's only turned face really not...
last year.
Yeah, like late last year, right? And I just didn't get this. So he won by hanging on to the ropes when he was pinning Punk. And I just didn't get it, considering even just a week before, like the whole crap with him and Hobbs and QT, and like, I'm sitting there going, where has this come from? Like, what the hell? And Ricky's gotten over as a babyface. He wasn't getting booed or anything like that. He's a wrestler, and as I said, you don't get these types of wrestlers too often. He works both ways. He's tremendous as a babyface, and he's tremendous as a heel. Just like Jericho. Jericho is really good at playing both roles. Sometimes you get a wrestler and they're either just fit naturally as a babyface and not so good as a heel. Then you get the opposite and they're better as a heel, not so good as a babyface. But Ricky can play both, and I just didn't get the heel turn. See, at least with Jack Perry, they executed that right because there was little hints over the weeks leading up to him actually turning. Including in that fatal four-way match, that there was a turn on the horizon. There was nothing for Ricky. It was a spare of the moment, last minute, random freaking thing. And then, now here's where it gets even crazier. All right? So he does that. He goes up the ramp where Jushin Thunder Liger was going to hand him the cup. Snatches it out.
I saw that.
Yeah, and I'm going to get to something in a minute because the New Japan president wasn't actually happy with how that was handled. I, as a fan, completely thought Tony Khan wasted Jushin's time. I was like, what the freaking hell was the point in him? Why didn't you just come out like you did with Willow?
Stupid.
Like, that was not a way to use such a legend.
Quick sidebar. Was what's Owen Hart's wife name?
Martha.
Was Martha Hart there?
She was. She turned up on the Battle of the Belts because both Ricky and Willow, they took the cups on Collision. When they did the hour of Battle of the Belts afterward is when they got handed the actual belts, the pink belts. The pink belts.
And that's when they just got the trophy. Okay.
Right. Here's the confusing part. So they turned him heel. He acted all heelish, did what he did with Jushin, which I'll get to that little part in a minute. Then on Battle of the Belts, in front of Martha and that, he's acting like a freaking babyface. And I'm like, what in the freaking hell is going on here? Like,
Do you remember when Adam Cole and them first won it and they were both heels? Cole and Britt won it and they were both heels. But when Martha gave her speech, you kind of gotta be like the baby face kind of thing. Like, oh, this is Martha Hart. I get it. It's kind of one thing.
Put it this way. You could still tell that they were still being their cocky heel selves, but they were acting respectful, which I got.
Oh, yeah.
But Ricky literally was, even facial mannerisms and that, gone back to his baby. I'm like, what the freaking hell? Like, are we doing a double turn into one night here? Like, you've just won by heels tactics, done what you did with Jushin, now you're back to being baby. Like, what's going on? So we're going to have to obviously wait for Dynamite to actually see if they're following through on the whole heel turn and that. But it was just so confusing to me. It really fucking was. And on just before I go any further, Battle of the Belts and what happened on there as well. So the New Japan president came out. He, obviously, as I mentioned, Ricky showed signs of his old heel self, and people in high places took notice. Now he's been a fan favourite since last summer, and he won over CM Punk in nefarious means, holding up on the ropes, as I mentioned, to get the victory. Now, while some saw that as heelish technique on its own, he then blatantly disrespected Jushin Thunder Liger, brushing past the New Japan wrestling legend as he tried to present the Owen Hart Cup to him. Now, New Japan president Takami Abari took umbrage with Starks' actions, tweeting, "Where is your respect?" in response to a video of Ricky's post-match celebration. The New Japan star was present for the last part of Collision, following an invitation by Tony himself, an offer that was extended due to the former IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championships partnership and eventual rivalry with Owen Hart from 1987 to 1991. Despite some fans clamouring to see a match between Liger and Starks, coming out of this disrespectful altercation, Liger's 2020 retirement from in-ring competition makes it very highly unlikely. However,
I ain't trying to see that.
If New Japan does want someone to wrestle Starks on Liger's behalf, many names within the company's junior heavyweight division could be available to do so, as the G1 Climax, a traditionally heavyweight tournament, currently takes centre stage in Japan as we speak. Otherwise, what's next for Starks remains unknown, because later on the broadcast of Battle of the Belts, he went back to showing his babyface qualities. So right now, it's a very confusing time for Ricky Starks and which direction and where they're going with this. I didn't think he needed to snatch it out of his hand, and I thought that whole thing was just pointless. I was like, you really invited this legendary Japanese star for this waste of a time spot. Like, I thought it was completely, utterly pointless. I would have used him in the whole Martha Hart segment of it on the Battle of the Belts, because at least the time ran for a bit longer and it was a very commemorative thing. She did a whole speech on Owen, obviously. He is a long-time friend of Owen. As I said, they started as a tag team and then they ended up in a rivalry. And so there's history there. I thought he would have been better utilised for that if they were going to do it. Otherwise, honestly, it was a complete waste of time. And God knows how much money Tony would have had to pay for that. But we know Tony Moneybags has got the money to do it. But I just thought it was disrespectful. Look, Ricky was just doing his heel thing, and I thought that was a bit stupid and over the top. But really, it was Tony. Tony completely wasted Jushin's time, and I thought it was just disrespectful to a Japanese legend who people idolise and watch for years, just to have him do something so minuscule like that, considering his significance to Owen Hart's career. So I really did think that was pointless. But on to Battle of the Belts, of course, then we, as the name suggests, we had more championship matches. Orange Cassidy got past the Murderhawk, which was a pretty damn good match, actually. And Lance Archer deserves credit, because the man can sell and the man can go in that ring, and he makes people look very good. He's probably one of the best big men in wrestling today. And that was a great match. I just wish that Tony Khan utilised him a lot better and gave him a decent run with, one of the top titles at some point. And then, of course, they had Tony Storm versus Taya Valkyrie, but no one's seen it because they had a massive storm over Calgary and it took out the satellite. So no one at all, no one watching around the world saw the match. When they finally got the connection back up and running, they had to show you a quick replay. And that's after that. That's when they came back and they did the whole presentation of the actual Owen Hart, the pink belts and everything, which I think are actually really good looking belts, if you ask me. for that tournament. I love the cups as well. Like, there's a lot of significance around. I just think there's one extra thing that I think Tony in the future needs to do to even add more significance to the whole Owen Hart Cup thing. Cool, they get a big, massive trophy and they get a nice looking belt. I also think the winners need to become the number one contenders for the respective women's and men's world championships, just to add that more significance to it. And you're not just going through this whole big tournament in his name just for a cup and a belt that you're not going to defend. It's, a commemorative mantelpiece trophy thing. Mm-hmm. So they should be, basically what I'm saying is Willow should be number one contender for either one.
I actually like that. I actually like that idea. It feel like it adds more flavor to the tournament.
Yes, more important.
Instead of just like, and I'm not saying like the matches are bad. Like the matches for the Owen Hart tournament have all been very good and entertaining. But at the end of the day, it feels like, all right, where do we go from here after you win? Yeah. Like I remember when Britt won it and Adam won it before Adam got hurt. Like he was just carrying around his belt. Like where do we go from here?
Yeah.
You can at least make this like, hey, number one contender match for the next. You're the next number. You're instantly the number one contender for the world championship immediately. Like kind of like a Royal Rumble thing. Make that like your Royal Rumble.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, what's good, John? What's good, brother? And of course, we had the TNT Championship where poor Luchasaurus, even though Christian says that he's the champion, but Luchasaurus defended against Sean Spears, which was actually, again, it was, I wasn't expecting too much from that match, but Sean Spears is he's always has been such a great worker.
Underrated.
Yeah, underrated. Something cruel. And he put on a heck of a match in his home country. And it was great to see. I don't know where they're going with this. The only thing I can sort of see is that Luchasaurus is eventually going to get sick of Christian. Because if you watch the end after he's won, the ref's about to hand the belt to Luchasaurus and Christian runs in, snatches the belt and then runs around the ring. I'm the champion, So, and he keeps getting Luchasaurus to put him on his shoulders. Last time I remember someone being on someone's shoulders, it was Batista carrying around Randy Orton and Triple H gave the thumbs down and Batista dropped him backwards. I think that's going to happen. Obviously, no one's going to do the thumb down.
I'm about to say, are we on our way to the return of Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, just heel versions now?
Yeah, and I think maybe it is Jack that comes in, does the thumbs down because even though he's heel, they're not going to all of a sudden have him team up, even regardless that Christian's heel, with Christian because it just from a story point, it just wouldn't make any lick of fucking sense whatsoever because of what they sort of put each other through from a story point. But it has to end that way because I'm just like, Luchasaurus, like from a story point, he's got to get sick of this crap. He's going and busting ass. He's the actual champion. Christian running around with his belt proclaiming he's the champ. And he keeps wanting Luchasaurus to carry him around. I said, I could see Luchasaurus getting sick and just dropping him backwards. And like saying, no, and so, yeah, it's interesting. And there's going to be a slow burn on it, obviously. It's probably not going to happen anytime soon, but I do see something along those lines happening. But, yeah, it was a good little extra hour. They only had the 3 championship, because it was only an hour, so they only had the 3 championship matches on there. Probably Orange Cassidy and Murder Hawk was probably the best. As I said, no one could really comment on the women's championship because no one's seen it except for the last little bit, the poor bastards. But no, it was a good, Collision was good. As I said, I thought top to bottom was a great show. I just didn't get the finish to the Punk and Starks match, and I didn't get the heel turn. If it was me, I would have had, even though we'd already talked about not wanting Punk to win, but if they were going to do something like a heel change and, the heel winning, I would have done it with Punk because it just would have made more sense.
Yeah, but has Punk's only been back like a month, right? You want him to turn heel already? I mean...
Yeah, only because...
because nobody cares about this Punk and...
No, there was a sign. There was a sign in the crowd saying, Crybaby Phil cries for his own way. And another fan got right in his face. Like, the fans are screaming for him to be heel Punk. The whole love affair, I guess you could say, with his return, it's over. The boos are getting louder. And Tony needs to not be Vince, where Vince wouldn't turn Cena, even though Cena was screaming in his ears to turn him. I know in that sense.
Was he?
Yeah, he was. He wanted to turn.
He was okay. I wasn't
He
sure.
wanted
Like
to.
at this point, like
He
he
wanted
just stayed.
to.
He stayed the
Yeah,
face
he's
forever.
come out in an interview saying he would have loved to bring out his own version, kind of thing, of the NWO and done a whole heel big group thing. They had the opportunity too of making him the heel, the actual heel leader and the guy behind the Nexus, not really being Wade Barrett. It was actually him pulling the string, but they didn't follow through on that either. But
Thank God, because I did not care about the Nexus.
I can understand a little bit different here. The two scenarios are different. The two wrestlers are different. I can understand Vince not wanting to pull the trigger because John Cena being the biggest Make-A-Wish Foundation person out of any celebrity and how he was with I get being scared to do that and mess all that up. And even John reflects on it and goes, it was a hard situation, but he goes, no joke, he goes, if they had have allowed the heel turn, it could have been just as big as when Hogan did it. Because no one would have expected this babyface smile and Cena, you know, the never give up guy, Super Cena, many names he got, turning heel. That no one was getting it, but he was trying to push for it. It just never eventuated, and he was kind of hoping, especially the second time around with The Rock. He was borderlining on some of the things he was saying to The Rock in that second part of the feud after he'd lost, where he's borderlining on heel, and Vince still wouldn't pull the trigger, and he was really pushing for it. Then turn me heel. I want to go heel. I want to try something different. I've been this good guy doing the goody two-shoes, kissing babies act for like 10 years now. He just never got his opportunity. But he tried. He did try, but Vince just wouldn't pull the trigger.
I can see the other side, especially with the Make-A-Wish work.
Yeah.
Because
but Punk,
that would have really messed things up because he either has to choose to break character every time he does a Make-A-Wish.
Yeah.
Or they stop using him because, you know, the kids now think he's an asshole.
Yeah.
You know.
And so you've got a different situation with Punk. He hasn't got that holding him back. So I don't know.
And we all know Punk is an asshole in general.
Tony needs
you already know that.
Tony needs that's why I said he works better as a heel. His best work is as a heel. It always has been. When he's
himself.
Yeah. They need to do it. I don't know why Tony's too scared to do it. And as like Meltzer even pointed out, and a few other reporters pointed out, he's turning everybody else around him heel to keep him as the big babyface, but he won't turn him. I'm like, you got to turn him. If you don't, the fans are going to just keep booing the crap out of him. As I said, the only place, and this is usually the case with the heel anyway, the only place that a heel usually gets cheered is in their hometown, of course. MJF gets cheered in Long Island, you know, for example, but gets booed out of the building everywhere else. So they really do. They really do need, you know, he just works better as a heel. And as I said, I think the whole love affair with him being returned and everything is over, and he had his little baby face run. Now's the time to turn him heel. And it should have been this match. He should have been the one to turn heel. It just made more sense. It made no sense whatsoever for Ricky.
I ain't gonna hold you. I kind of picked Punk to win this entire tournament, honestly. He was my pick.
I said to Paul, I said I wanted Hobbs or Starks to win it because I thought they needed the rub more than Punk. Punk doesn't need that. Punk doesn't need to win. He's already a big name. He doesn't need that rub. Starks
and to me too. I think I said it then too. I think Punk coming in off the contract issues and all that he had. It wouldn't be necessarily a good time to do that because then you're almost.
But we discussed
you're awarding him for being an asshole. And,
hey, Dred,
it's like,
what's good, brother? But we also discussed, me and you, Paul, that we had a feeling too, which we're glad we're wrong, but we had a feeling that he was going to get the win because Tony's got such a hard on for him. That he seems willing to choose him over even the Young Bucks and Kenny, which I think is a stupid decision. And if it was up to me and I had to make the choice, I would
going
be
with
choosing
Kenny and the Bucks.
Yeah,
because everybody would. Yeah. Everybody would.
They're a lot more well liked in the locker room, And
Well, and they're up and coming, and I'd say and he's
I would
CM's good,
definitely.
but he's towards.
Yeah, I agree with Paul because the up and coming part I was about to disagree with because I said they would arrive, but in terms of the mainstream audience, no, they are up and coming. Like
they
they're
are,
like
Yeah.
they
new
are.
faces.
Unless you knew them from, well, Kenny from his time in Japan, and unless you knew the Young Bucks again from
From like
Japan
Ring of Honor.
or Ring of Honor, then yeah, mainstream they are. Yeah,
But
no,
I
not
was
by
going to say,
age,
but
not
to
by
the
age, but
mainstream
yeah.
wrestling fan, though. But yeah,
Yeah.
to mainstream wrestling fans.
So it's their time to shine, And look, I'll commend Punk because apparently it was his suggestion to put Ricky over. So I've got to give him props for that. For helping a younger talent and putting him over. And I said I want to see either whoever won out of Starks and Hobbs, I'd want to see win because they need it more for their careers.
Yeah.
They need that win. Like I'm an Owen Hart. Winning the Owen Hart Cup has got a lot of significance. It's basically like their version, I guess you could say, of King of the Ring, really. And
Yeah.
it gives that person that rub and that little boost that they need. And so Punk didn't need to win this, Being in the main event's all right, Okay, he is a main event player. You're going to get the eyes on the
and giving the win to what's his name is probably maybe CM Punk has learned his lesson.
Yeah.
That that he needs to swallow his pride and do what's right for the company, not what's right for him necessarily.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. But again,
Time will tell.
only part I didn't get was the Ricky Hill. I didn't get that, but it is what it is. We'll see how it's going to play out now, and if they're going to turn him heel, then if Hobbs is staying here, you might as well team him back up again, and they can go around and beat the crap out of everybody. But I think Hobbs might be on the verge of turning babyface possibly and having a bit of a babyface run, which he hasn't really had a chance to see, so you got to give that person a chance to see if they're any good at doing that role. We know he can do the whole big angry heel, but who knows, he might be able to get over with the Book of Hobbs as a babyface too. We'll have to wait and see what they're doing there with him, because his storylines could have kind of at a few points.
They have screwed up Hobbs.
They have. They push and then they pause. They push, then they pause.
They put the title belt on him for like a day, and we just went right back to Wardlow and didn't even give a shit.
Nah, and I'm like, what in the hell? But yeah, moving on to obviously the final topic of the evening, which was Impact Wrestling having their big 2023, one of their big pay-per-views of the year, of Slammiversary. Long time running, usually follows before they have their next big one, which is usually Bound for Glory. And there was a few good matches up on here, and a few title changes. And a surprise return, because people thought the return that happened was wasn't going to happen because they thought he was still contracted to WWE, because he only left Impact last year to go to WWE, and WWE did nothing with this man. But Eric Young returned to his home. You could say his home because that's where he got his name.
That's been his home. That is his home.
But I don't know. Look, I've got to give him something. You went up to WWE and got paid to do nothing.
I'm about to say, yeah, you made the easiest check in your life. I mean, I was wondering, like, are we going to see Eric Young with the Nikki Young story, or is this? Then they said it was supposed to be a Bray Wyatt story. So and then he said he didn't want to work for Vince, and he did. And I was like, and they just said, all right, you could go. We don't give a shit. I was like, okay.
Before we get into our thoughts and results of the pay-per-view. So after being under contract with WWE, as we know, for a while, when he initially first left Impact the first time, He
died to go to WWE.
Eric Young's much anticipated return to the company never materialized due to the influence of Vince McMahon. Young has now had 2 stints with WWE.
Shocker.
He worked for the company from 2016 to early 2020 as part of the group known as Sanity. He led the faction, which started in NXT, was later moved to SmackDown. However, he was released by Vince himself in April 2020. So following Vince's alleged retirement in July of last year, Triple H took the reins of WWE Creative, leading to Young's return last November. A new report from Fightful Select indicates that Young actually requested his release from WWE in April 2023, right after Endeavor's acquisition of WWE was announced. According to Fightful, Eric Young did not want to work for Vince after the Endeavor deal was announced and heard that Vince was going to be back in full control, basically, even if he wasn't at the events. And the report also reveals that Young's request for release was granted and his 90-day no-complete clause expired just last week. And so not only did he make his return home, but he made his return home to a character that he has not played since he actually debuted on the scene with the whole Team Canada gimmick. And so that was interesting as he teamed with Scott D'Amore. And man, oh man, from top to bottom, I've got to give Impact Wrestling something. Top to bottom, this was a pretty damn good pay-per-view. I actually gave an 8 out of 10 for. So they started things off with the Ultimate X match. Now, don't get me wrong, it was still a good match. I've seen better Ultimate X matches, but it was still a great match. We saw Jake Something return, but we saw Kushida. Everybody knows Kushida from his time in NXT, otherwise Japan. Ended up winning the match. Kind of looked like he poked Alan Angels in the eye or something at the end, or punched him in the eye to make him fall. But Alan Angels, he was kicking everybody in the nuts. Every time, everybody that was climbing up, he would climb up and he would kick him in the nuts. I think the last person was Mike Bailey, was behind him trying to do something, and he just flicked his leg backwards and caught him right in the nut. I'm like, oh, I thought he was going to do the same thing. But that was a heck of a way, though. It was still a good Ultimate X match. They usually always are, where they've got the 2 ring ropes in the air that's in a form of a cross, with the cross hanging there, to become the number 1, obviously, contender to the X Division title. And it was a great way to start the match. That was followed up by the women's tag team title match, which saw the pairing, and they were most recently rivals in some pretty brutal women's matches. Killer Kelly and the Russian Master Slamovich defeated Taylor Wilde and Kylan King. Kylan King also had a bit of a stint in NXT, I think as recently as just last year. And they dropped the titles to Killer Kelly and Marsha in actually what was actually probably one of the better women's tag team matches I've actually seen. All 4 girls put on a hell of a show, and that was actually the second title to change on the night, because there was a title change also on the undercard, where Kenny King defeated Joe Hendry for the Digital Media Championship. One of the matches I enjoyed of the night, and I thought it was one of the matches of the night. Team Canada, as I mentioned, Eric Young returned to team up with Scott D'Amore against Bully Ray and Cody Deaner, and they won that match. Scott D'Amore, my God, that
he can still move.
that man is. I always knew he was talented, because I remember him back in the day. Even though he's more managerial, but he did have his stints as wrestler. But he taught a lot of these guys. He's got his own wrestling school. This guy was doing Canadian destroyers and executing them perfectly, running the rope. Like everything he did in there, he didn't miss a beat. And I mean, he's been running Impact for quite a few years, so he's been out of the ring. But obviously he's been in the ring behind the scenes at his wrestling school, because no ring rust. The man is in his 50s, but wow, he was running around like a 2-year-old. He was out wrestling Bully Ray. Out wrestling, out maneuvering. It was insane. And the stuff that man, and he's not exactly a small guy either. Like, he's small in stature, but he's not a small guy. He's build. But just the stuff he can do, I'm like, good God. It was just amazing to see. And now I can see how a lot of these students, Eric Young was a student of his, Frankie Kazarian was a student of his. There's been quite a few, the machine guns. So there's been quite a few that he's taught. you see why all of these guys have turned out to be fantastic wrestlers, because he was something else. The disappointing match of the night was the X Division title match. Literally a minute 20 because Leo Rush.
Yes.
Yeah, Leo.
Wow.
Leo Rush flew at Chris Sabin during his entrance and didn't even get Chris Sabin a chance to take off his jacket, and it was over in the blink of an eye. I would have actually liked to seen a good match because both those guys are insane in the ring. Chris Sabin's been insane for a very long time, but Leo Rush, very underutilized talent. I thought he was underutilized in WWE. He could talk on a microphone, but he's just impressive in the ring.
He was underutilized in AEW too.
Yeah, he is impressive, and so far only Impact and New Japan and MLW have really used him properly. But this was just a waste. You could have still he won, but you could have still had him win, and they could have put on one heck of a show, those two guys. And it probably, honestly, it had on paper it should have been match of the night. It really should have been match of the night. So that was probably my only disappointment with it. I didn't get why they did that, but hey, that's obviously going to lead to something for the quick victory there. Then you had the insane four-way tag team match for the Men's Impact World Championship, which also changed hands. Every belt actually changed hands on this pay-per-view except for the World Championship. And there was a random team that I've seen them. They're from Britain, so they've mainly wrestled on the British independent scene, but they end up defeating the Bullet Club and Myers and Moose, as well as Rich Swann and Sammy Callahan. But Swann and Callahan really stole the show in this match. Like the team up, they've got such good chemistry, and they put on a fantastic show. They got about 11 minutes, I think, all up, which was pretty decent considering there was how many? So there's 4 teams, eight people all up in the ring. So it was a lot of hectic, insanity there. Then the longest match of the night was the match that followed, which was just basically a grudge match between Eddie Edwards and Frankie Kazarian. That was a good match. Both these guys have always been hard workers. Kazarian's probably one of the hardest workers over the last decade or more. That's never really got his shot. I think he should have been at least a one-time world champion in Impact or somewhere, by now.
He wasn't a world champion in Impact?
No. He got one match back in the day, which they obviously had him lose. I think it was against AJ. If it wasn't against AJ, it was against Samoa Joe. It was one of those two. And he never, ever got another shot until recently, but a few months ago when Josh Alexander was still the champ. And he obviously lost that. I actually thought, well, this might be the chance that he gets. And again, they had him lose. But he is a fantastic, underappreciated, underutilized wrestler. Eddie Edwards, again, he's been fantastic since his Ring of Honor days. Even when he was teamed up with Davey Richards and they were the Wolves. But it was a great match, great singles match. Of course, the second last match of the evening was the Impact Knockouts World Championship between Jimmy Uso's wife, Trinity Fatu, taking down Deonna Purrazzo. Fantastic match. Fantastic lead-in.
Yeah.
And I was surprised by the way it ended. I thought Trinity, she usually ends it with that kick of hers. And she didn't. She beat her at Purrazzo's own game and won by submission. And it was actually a really good submission. Adds to that continued story, obviously, because she made... usually the person that makes everybody else tap out, she made tap out. So, fantastic match. Both girls had fantastic chemistry. Again, it was another highlight of the night for me. And they're probably the two best females I got in the company right now from a wrestling standpoint. But it was good to see Trinity get her just desserts and get the victory. And Yeah, she's going to take that Impact Knockouts World Championship to new heights now, because obviously she's probably the biggest name on the females roster, really, because of her stint with WWE. And apparently Mercedes was backstage to congratulate her there.
Oh
I
yeah,
think
yeah. She was her and Tamina was back there.
I think she's a free agent too now, so it wouldn't shock me to see her.
Mercedes?
I think she is, yeah. Although that's not to say that Japan won't.
I'm about to say already.
Yeah. Like we knew her time was coming up, and once she got injured, I kind of thought, oh, okay, her time.
Is there because she's been hurt? So is there like you gotta what's the?
Yeah, I don't.
You know what I'm trying to say though.
Yeah,
I just don't know what it's called.
I don't know if they've got like a thing like WWE where they add time on. I know AEW does because they added time on to Kenny's contract because he was the episode, but I don't know about Japan, so I'm not sure. They may not, but for right now, it looks like she's possibly a free agent because they were talking about maybe she makes appearances. Although, I mean, Impact's also got a pretty decent relationship with Japan, so regardless if they add more time or she re-signs, she probably could still do stuff with Impact and or AEW as well anyway. And then, of course, the match that finished the night, and I was so happy that they didn't take the belt off him so soon because, again, he has worked his ass off for so many years. And his tag team partner already back in the day got to be world champion, Chris Sabin. So Alex Shelley retained against Nick Aldis. And then I found out after it ended that Nick Aldis only was on a short-term contract because he's now left Impact Wrestling after the pay-per-view. There's speculation that he's heading to WWE because they were looking to hire him before he actually signed his little contract with Impact. So now more than ever, that's maybe where he's heading. Look, I like Nick Aldis as a wrestler, but I do find him boring and bland too. He hasn't.
I was just about to say, I am not the biggest Nick Aldis guy.
No, he's a fantastic worker. Don't get me wrong, but he is boring on that microphone. Like he can talk, but he's just not entertaining enough, and his character's pretty bland and boring. Like personally, he would have fit a lot better in, say, the 70s wrestling and stuff like that, where you didn't need to have a big personality, and it was more about the in-ring product more so than the bad guy, the good guy, and telling a story. He really would have. He fits that old school.
Well, I hear Roman's looking for some new team members, so
but no, WWE hires him, I don't doubt, and he may not like it, but I don't doubt he starts in NXT because I wouldn't be chucking him onto the main roster at all straight away. And hell, he might just stay in NXT. Yeah,
I don't know. I'm not the biggest Nick Aldis guy.
No, I mean,
he
did well with NWA because they were more that clean-cut, straightforward type promotion where, again, it was more about just the wrestling than the storytelling. That's why LA Knight got out of there when he could get out of there because he was just too big for that promotion with his personality. I know I never like to say that a wrestler's too big for, but he really was. And I'm like, no, you need a bigger spotlight. Like, this is way too small time for you.
And he's thriving in WWE.
Yes. It's just that WWE seems to be dropping the ball left, right, and center with him and won't pull the trigger. I keep hearing the whole, the age thing. Well, I'm telling you now.
I don't care about the age thing.
No, I said it last week to Paul. Right? I'll keep hearing it. Oh, that's just why he's not going to get his shot. Then please will someone answer me why they had Damian Priest go over him for Money in the Bank and Priest is older than him?
There's more story with Priest. That's the only thing. There's more story with Damian Priest.
Agreed. But now you've got the new version of a combination of Rock and Stone Cold. That's how I view LA Knight. He's like a combination of the two put together.
He is. So I think right now it's tough to figure out the LA Knight thing only because the Roman still has. I think if Jay pins Roman at the SummerSlam, then we could talk about.
Do you think at the very least, come on, like he needs to...
No, at the very least, no, he got to get one major championship run. Like
let him be the guy to take Gunther down. Because he's kind of
Gunther. They seem like he's the one taking down Austin Theory, which I think is needed right now.
yeah,
But
yeah.
no, they
Either way,
need one major championship.
Yeah.
He got to get it.
US or the Intercontinental, it needs to be one or the other, at least for the time being, until he fits into that main event. Because he is a main event. There's no doubt in my mind that he deserves to be in the main event. Easy. He could carry that world championship. He'd be believable. You obviously need to just find, like you're talking about, need to find that right timing for him. But he needs a belt. give the guy a belt, please. For the love of God, I still think he should have won Money in the Bank, and that's why I said, like you said, there is storyline obviously with Priest, but I will come back to anybody that if that keeps coming out. Oh, it's the age thing. It's the age. You know, he's 40 or he's just heading into 41. Oh, Priest is older than him, and they're pushing him.
Like,
so don't give me the age
that
thing,
are like getting most of the dudes that really most wrestlers start their prime in their 40s, really.
Really?
30s and
Yeah. 30 and
like
40.
if
exactly.
that's what I've heard from most wrestlers, like we know I started my prime like at this age. I ain't started my prime in like 20 and none.
Right
that's
there.
why I'm still learning.
Yeah, he's right there. But now back to the main event. As I said, I was glad Alex Shelley went over him because he deserves it. He's earned this run. And then it was interesting when it ended because the man who never lost the belt is returned at the final, Josh Alexander, the walking weapon, to confront him and let him know, and let the crowd know that he's back and he's healthy and he's ready to go and he wants his championship match that the belt that he never lost. He had to give up due to injury, which will be a fantastic match between those two guys. They're, again, phenomenal wrestlers. I've said many times Josh Alexander reminds me of a new version of Kurt Angle.
Josh Alexander is a beast.
He is. And he's great on the microphone too. He got better and better over time because he was in a tag team initially, so he didn't get a lot of mic time. But once he started going on his singles run, and I know Scott D'Amore worked with him a lot when it pertained to the microphone skills, and now he's a very balanced wrestler in that sense. So no, it was great to see him return, but again, it was just the right decision to have Alex keep that belt. And I'm glad they're giving him a decent run, that it wasn't just, oh, you're going to have it for a month and then drop it. You know, I don't see Alex Shelley dropping the title until probably their next big pay-per-view,
Bound for Glory.
Which is still, I think, another month or two away. And by that time, he should be about a 4, maybe close to a 5-month champion. So that's fantastic. And again, with the work he's done for the years, and he's wrestled other places, but he has been very loyal to Impact, who initially gave him his start and put him on the map, you know, when he came in first with Chris as the machine guns. It's just great to see. And this is what they need to do at some point with Frankie as a thank you type thing before Frankie has to hang it up. It's just like WWE did. Like, no one in their wildest dreams for years and years and years thought Mark Henry would get anywhere near a world championship. And then he started that particular, heel character where he was just dominating everyone. And I thought it was great that they did it. And it was done as more of a thank you for being a company man, thank you for being loyal, and thank you for your work. And I think some wrestlers deserve that little knock towards the end of their career. If, they may not necessarily been viewed or been a main event guy, but you give them that little rub as a thank you. Here's your world champ, you've earned this. And I think, as I said, Frankie has. But again, I don't know if you've seen the actual pay-per-view, Paul, but did you see the pay-per-view yourself, Josh?
Yeah, I agree with your statement. Being in a definite 8. I was very impressed because I'm not the biggest fan of Impact. I'm not going to say I don't really watch Impact as much as I used to watch it back when AJ Styles and all them was there.
Right.
They kind of fell off, obviously. But they've stayed alive. You gotta give them credit. They stayed alive during a lot of the dark times.
Yeah, they have. As I said, they're like the big indie promotion now. That's the level they're at, and I think that works for them. And they do fill their little arenas. They do fill their little arenas that they host their shows at. I'm glad to see them still around. There's a lot of history there. They introduced a lot of different things into wrestling, like from the X Division, was something new in that the way they did those matches. All the way back to where they had the 6-sided ring, which was a new concept at the time. And, they've had some fantastic talent come through there. And they've still got some fantastic talent on the roster, mixed with, obviously, some veterans, that are mixed in there to help out as well. But, no, again, I tune into everything, and their pay-per-views lately have been a bit hit and miss. Some have been good, some have been not so good. But this was probably their best pay-per-view they've put on in a while. Probably their best so far this year, which I was glad to see, but expected too. They usually have a tendency to go all out for Slammiversary and Bound for Glory. And usually they are the talk of the town when it comes to their pay-per-views every year is Slammiversary and Bound for Glory. And as I said, apart from the one match, every other match was pretty damn good. As I said, that Leo Rush Chris Sabin match, I didn't get what was happening there. I don't know if it was a time constraint thing or what, but I just would have liked to seen a matchup between the two of them, because we know what they're capable of. Even if you gave them, 10 minutes, they would have put on a heck of a show, and a spot show at that, because they're both high flyers. Even though Sabin also has the groundwork as well. But yeah, it was a great watch. Definitely, I definitely felt satisfied at the end. I didn't feel like, that was.
Yeah, I was happy. I was happy for my girl Trinity, man. I was happy Trinity got it.
Yeah, that was good, and it wasn't just you've come in, you're the big star, we're just going to give you the belt. She got made to earn it, and she's been earning it since she debuted for him, and. They could have easily gave it, I've seen them do that before. I've seen other companies do it before, someone big or bigger name, comes in and they're like, oh, here you go, championship match straight away. But no, they made her, jump through the hoops, so to speak, and made her earn her way to here. And I was happy with the way they did that from a story point. So it really made it a little bit more significant, the win, and especially who she defeated. Basically, I'm not going to put Deonna Purrazzo on Charlotte's level, but she is basically, you could say, the Charlotte Flair of Impact Wrestling. She has that, she calls herself the Virtuosa, she has a kind of similar character to what Charlotte is. She's very technical wrestler like Charlotte. Charlotte's, again, don't get me wrong, Charlotte's leagues above her, but that's not taking anything away from Deonna Purrazzo. She's still a fine wrestler. And it was a great match, as I said. It was a great match. I can't wait to see, she'll obviously get a rematch. I can't wait to see round 2, because the only thing I was a little bit concerned going in is the chemistry between the two, because they hadn't had a match together before, and completely, utterly different styles. Completely. I'm like, I don't know how this is going to go. But no, they put the work in, and it worked. It paid off, and it was a great match. I'm guessing you didn't have a chance to catch it, Paul?
No. Nope.
No, but
it's a weakness I have for this show is I can't necessarily either afford the pay-per-views, or in some cases sometimes I don't know where to find them in a legit way, or in a not so legit way.
Yeah, no,
but like this next weekend is NXT, right? Or is that the weekend after?
I think it's this weekend. That's NXT.
What is it? Takeover.
It's it's Great American Bash.
Yeah, Great
American Bash.
Yeah, let me have a look. I'm just looking it up now. The date, July 30th. So no, next.
Is it July 30th? So it's next weekend.
Yeah,
and then the week after that is the is SummerSlam.
Yeah, so far you got 2 matches announced for Great American Bash. You got Carmelo taking on Dragunov, which for NXT has the potential to be match of the year. Those 2 are insane.
They about to go stupid.
Yeah, those 2 are insane. And then the second match is Wesley or Dominic, depending on who comes out on top of guest this week on NXT, versus Mustafa Ali. I'll tell you what, it would be interesting if they had Dominic beat Wesley for the championship.
Oh, you want to talk about it?
That would be insane, but I'd be okay with it because you're keeping him away from any of the main roster titles. I don't want him having any of those main roster. I mean, maybe I'd let it pass if he was in a tag team and he won the tag team champion because it'd be the other person carrying the bastard. But I do not want to see Dominic Mysterio as like the Intercontinental Champion or US Champion even. He's not ready for it yet, you know. I think he's gotten more better on the microphone, even more so than his in-ring ability. And he still needs to sort out...
No, wait. How can you tell? Every time he goes to talk on the microphone, the crowd drops him out.
Yeah, no. I mean, I've got to give him credit for two things. He's getting the heat, which is fantastic. So he is working very, very well. Better than he did as a babyface because Ray was carrying him even just... You know, with the fans didn't really care too much for Dominic. They just looked at him as a bland, basic-looking wrestler in the ring trying to copy his dad, you know. Yeah. And so he could just never get... It was a bit of a situation like Rome. He just wasn't getting over.
You know, and earlier, I was looking at pictures of him. He's like 1.5 feet taller than his dad. He has no business trying to be his dad.
So, that's what I'm saying. And then, over time, since he's been paired up, especially with Rhea... She's obviously worked very closely with him, and there's been a few others that's been reported that's worked closely with him. Obviously, his dad has too. His mic skills, definitely. His mic skills have improved tenfold. It's his wrestling now that needs to catch up to everything. And again, he does one move out of his whole repertoire that I can say is fantastic, and I hope he keeps with the one move. It's the only high-flying move he should be doing. He does a beautiful Eddie Guerrero frog splash. He does. That's the only move I'll give. Other than that, he needs to start doing more ground and power. And put on.
He's not a high flyer.
No, put on a bit more bulk as well, like Eddie bulked up, like Jericho bulked up, and be more a power and a ground guy. And as I said, keep the frog splash is beautiful. I'll give him that. But anything else he tries just looks awkward. He's trying to wrestle. He is trying to wrestle a luchador style, which just doesn't suit him. Or
it doesn't fit him.
No, it doesn't. So he needs to be like Conan. Conan understood he wasn't a little high flyer like a Juventud Guerrero, Rey Mysterio, or even Eddie Guerrero at that time, because Eddie was a cruiserweight at that time. He understood he was a bigger built Mexican, so he took the whole submission ground route and added a bit of power in there, you know, of what would be believable because he wasn't exactly tall, Conan, but he was a heck of a lot bigger build and than most of all the cruiserweights. So that's a style I think Dominic. Maybe he needs to talk to Conan. I mean, we know that he's godfather. He's very close to the Mysterio family. Take some pointers for him. Take up his style that it would fit Dominic down to a T with Dominic's height and weight and everything. And as I said, keep your frog splash. That's all cool because you perform that well. But take all the rest of the high flying out of it. Stop trying to do your abysmal 619 because it is abysmal.
Yeah, that shit is ass.
I've seen other guys that, you know how, you know, wrestlers do it in a match. I'll steal another. I've seen other wrestlers perform that better than what he does. You know, and even then, no one can do it as good as Ray. But I have seen other wrestlers perform it better than Dominic, and I'm just like, please.
He do it so bad the crowd love it.
Yeah. Like I sit
just
there and I'm just like,
people.
please, for the love of God, stop trying.
See, I'm looking at him right now with his build. I mean, couldn't he also try to go be more technical?
That's what I said. Like technical ground games, technical. With a little bit of power in there. As I said, if he bulks up a little bit more, he could probably add a little bit more power moves because, you know, he's still...
With his build, I don't know if he could comfortably bulk up. You know, some people just can't bulk up for the life of them. And
no. I'm not talking... I don't want him to get freaking Batista or Brock Lesnar size.
Yeah.
But, like, I would like to see him add a little bit more bulk, just a little bit more. And that would play into being able to do some power moves, like... You know, it'd be more believable then if he was a little bit more bulky. If he was to do, say, power bombs. If he added power bomb into his repertoire and stuff like that. You know, right now he kind of looks a little bit weak to do that. He's got the height to make it believable, but he hasn't got the build to really.
Right, but what about some? You know, some of the more like the
but a ground
like submissions and stuff.
Yeah.
Become a submissions guy,
Yeah.
you know.
A submission and technical ground guy would be
Yeah.
perfect, you know. Would fit him so well. And you could still do this whole sniveling little hiding behind mummy.
Yeah.
You know, it's working.
Which he does
for him.
so well.
It's working for him, you know. So, no, I just want him to find. You got two things there going for you. Now you figure out what your wrestling style is going to be. When you figure that out, and that catches up to the other two things, then the sky's the bloody limit with him. But right now,
I kind of feel bad for him because if I was doing that stuff, I would not want to be seen basically as a simpering mammy's boy.
No,
I'm sorry. It's just
But
I would.
At the moment, it works and it's working well, and might as well keep going with it while it's working and let it run its course.
Well, I mean, what we were talking about earlier about the fans believing what they see in the ring, and it's like, I would not want to be seen like that.
No. Like, I get where you're coming from. He's a man, he's a young man, and hiding behind a woman, and it makes him look weak and stuff like. But it works, I remember Eddie used to do that a lot. Like not
That's the callback.
Yeah,
that's
not
the
as much.
callback.
But Eddie used to do it, and then he'd go and hit someone, or do something, and then he'd run and hide behind China. So
and I think we've seen Mysterio do it too in some matches. He'll do something and he'll hide behind her, and she'll be like, "What?
Hey, boom, boom, kaboom! What's good, Noof? Welcome in, brother.
Hey, Noof.
Right at the end. Always good to see you, man. But no, he does. He just needs to work out what wrestling style works for him, his build and everything. And again, if he can, I'll just say it that way. If he can bulk up a little bit, I'd like to see it. Even if it takes him a couple of years, because he's still at the what is he 20?
He's early 20s.
He's under 25.
It's not
I'm
mid.
pretty sure.
Mid 20s maybe. Like he's got a whole career ahead of him. He's got time.
So he's got time to bulk up. As I said, he's got the size there to put on some nice bulk.
I would say, can we lose the Mexican mullet? Okay, I'm just
I love the mullet.
No, he's doing that. Yeah, he's doing that because he's still doing the whole. I wish Eddie was my dad, and Eddie, he's done it for Eddie.
Yeah.
And he
I know but it's such a bad haircut. It really is.
It's funny because he's got a lot of permissions for a lot of stuff because he's run it by Vicky. And Vicky's okay with it and everything like that. It's Chavo he hasn't got the approvals from.
No one cares about Chavo.
No, but Chavo cracks the shits over anything to do. They're like, it was all right for a while, pay homo, but I wish Ray would stop doing that. I wish his son had stopped doing this. Like, Eddie's gone, he's not coming back. He's just sour grapes, really, because he never was a big... The biggest point in his whole career was when he was tagged with Eddie as Los Guerreros. That was the biggest stage for him, and other than that, he never shined. He was always in Eddie's shadow. He didn't have the charisma and that of Eddie. He was a good wrestler. All the Guerreros are great wrestlers. He just didn't have the charisma to take him any further,
Right.
And he did work well as a heel, but again, he just wasn't Eddie. He just was, and a lot of people were like, your dad, your uncle, they all had charisma, they all had the Latino heat, but Chavo that just jumped over him for a generation. He missed out.
Well, yeah. Well, sometimes growing up behind that, it can be, you become the shy one, the quiet one, the one who just kind of stays in the shadows,
Noof says his favorite lady wrestler in AEW is Jade.
Oh.
Nice.
For a minute, I thought he was going to say it was Chavo, but,
But no, she'll be back soon too. She's taken a little break, which rightfully deserves. She what did she get up to? Was it 50? Did she get to the 50 before she lost? She did, didn't she?
I think she did.
Yeah. If not, she got to 49 before she lost. One of the two, but yeah, she's taken a little break, but she'll be back. And
give her like a couple months. She's been busting her ass over there relatively.
New wrestlers are better wrestlers, but lack personality. 80 and 90s dudes. Yeah, I agree with that too, Noof. You're not wrong. Like 80s and 90s,
especially on the NXT side and the AEW side, especially.
80s and 90s had the bigger personalities, like from storytelling and just the personalities. You had your Hogan, you had Piper, then you transitioned into Stone Cold and The Rock, and Taker and WCW had Sting and Diamond Dallas Page, big personality, Macho Man Randy Savage,
and like I said, even the big personalities that were at the announce table, like Jesse Ventura, and those guys,
and as Paul likes to refer to
Gorilla Monsoon, and
Jesse did Chico, Tito Santana.
Well, but that's the side that I'm missing is the announcers aren't as much involved in the storytelling as they used to be.
No, the only one that comes close. Hey, what's up, RPG? What's good, bro? The only one who comes close, and I'm glad that they put him on the commentary team for Collision, is Nigel McGuinness. He's also been a wrestler, and he's the only one who comes close. Taz used to in the day, and it's like Taz has lost.
Taz would be the closest one of now, but after they broke up Team Taz, it kind of It's just that the commentating days have changed. It's like we're at the point now. Like I kind of like prefer the commentator just to commentate.
Yeah. Well, I think part of it too is, remember, some of the commentators used to also be the managers, like Bobby Heenan and Jimmy Hart.
It was funny. Like,
so
and Paul Heyman, he was a commentator and a manager.
I was going to say, Paul Heyman's the only manager that you really see get out there and is a mouthpiece for his team the way they used to be.
Yeah.
Paul Heyman is a visualization and an actualization of what they used to do in the 80s and early 90s. Where the managers were as much a part of it as the wrestlers.
Before we get out of here, did you actually see the picture that's floating around? I don't know if either one of you two have noticed, of a picture taken a while ago of a young tag team at the time of LA Knight, who was actually going more at the time of his proper name, and Brian Cage with their manager, Percy Pringle, a.k.a. Paul Bearer.
No, I did not see that.
Yeah. That was the last. That was the last wrestlers he actually managed before he passed away. Was those two boys in the tag team, and it's funny because LA Knight in the picture, he's got relatively long hair. And Brian Cage is a heck of a lot smaller than what he is now. Still big, but he was a heck of a lot smaller. But it was a cool picture to see, and they both had commented on it. Yeah, that's what he's going by, Sean Rick at the time, which is I'm pretty sure is actually his proper name. He was going by that at the time, and what were they called? Natural Selection, I'm pretty sure was their tag team name. But yeah, it was when they were both sort of up and coming and hitting the business. So you could tell because they both looked pretty damn young in the picture. Probably early 20s, I'd imagine, at that time. But it was cool. It was cool to see.
Paul Bearer always freaked me out every time.
He even looked, and in this picture, because obviously, he wiped up his face with the makeup and stuff when he was with Taker, make him look ghostly. But even in this picture where he's got no makeup, he still looks ghastly. He still looks scary. He still looks a bit scary, But, hey, at the end of the day, he was actually a funeral home director and everything. That was actually a real job for him in real life. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. He actually worked.
And just the way he had his voice and stuff, though. Just he worked the character, man. It just freaked me out every time. Yeah.
The Undertaker. I love it. But that's all we got for you this week, folks. Great to be back. We had some great discussion, great topics. But I'm going to start with Paul. You want to let the fine folks know where they can find you, sir?
All over the place. Hey, you can find me at Twitter at Cerebral Paul 1, Twitch at Cerebral Paul on Tuesdays. That's tomorrow at 12:30 Pacific, 3:30 Eastern, and that makes it 4:30 in the morning for you, Spooky. So, or 5:30 in the morning for you. So I expect you to be there. So, on the Xbox Ambassador channel, where I'm going to be playing tomorrow, I'm going to be playing Diablo 4. They put the patch goes live tomorrow, and then the season goes live on Thursday. I'll be doing a special stream on Thursday as well because season 1 starts. But then again, for the purposes of podcasting on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, you can find me right here on 4GQ TV for the various shows I'm on. On Tuesdays, you can find me at the Retro Renegades, and on Fridays, you can find me on the Doomsayers Network.
And any other day that he's not podcasting, find him in a ring with Booker T. Still going.
That's right.
Well, waking him up. Oh dear. Josh, you want to let the five folks know where they can find you, brother?
Hey, y'all can find me on Twitter at JoshuaCounts1. Y'all can find me on you can find my anime podcast Afro Anime on YouTube and Spotify. And you can find me on Twitch at RTJosh124.
There you go, folks. Do check that out and support the brother. Very, very good podcasts. And loves to talk wrestling if you get on the Twitters there. All right, everybody. Well, you know where you can find me, Spooky TBG, absolutely everywhere in all social medias. Although I'm not on any of these new funny ones that everybody's talking about with threads. Fred, I don't know what a thread is other than the thread that you sew with. But anyway, other than that, you find me on Xbox, PC, on Steam, and Epic, and PlayStation on PlayStation 4 as well. And yeah. I'm still in I'm still on holiday mode, so, but you can catch me, of course, here every week on 4GQ, every Monday with the pop-up Powerbomb, every Wednesday with the Backlog Bastards. We're gonna have, I'm digging an old dog out of his basement this week. It's been a minute since we've had him on a podcast, old Bushido, or as my son likes to call him, Baby Bushido, for some reason. Doing the whole Benjamin Button thing with him. I also think Resident Gamer Zero, aka Ryan, will probably join us as well. Charlie will not be here this week. It's his turn to be on holidays. He's gone on holidays. Hopefully he's having a good time with his family. About time that man got a getaway. And also I hope that helps with his back a little bit, just relax and, don't be so stressed out and uptight and let loose a bit. But he'll be back, of course, next week. And we can finally talk about, Paul, we can talk about that the ABK thing's actually coming to an end. Oh, my God, it's been...
Maybe. Maybe. It's not over yet.
Oh, man, I cracked the bubbly on holiday when I seen that the FTC law. I was like, oh, thank the Lord. Thank the Lord. I'm like, oh, I'm so sick of talking about this stuff.
Yep.
Really
we can talk about it on Wednesday, not now.
Yeah. No, but it's good to see it. Obviously, there's just one more hurdle now, but the end's obviously in sight. It does seem, from what I'm hearing, it just might take a little bit of time, but it does seem like...
I'd please end it. I don't even care anymore.
The CMA is at least willing to talk and work and do something there.
Sure, because they look really bad now. They look extremely...
And Jim came over and signed the contract now too, so, he put up the fight that he needed to put up for his company and, had to do what he had to do in the end because... he's a businessman and it would be a stupid business move not to have COD. It's one of the top 5 selling and played games on PlayStation. And why do you want to miss out on that, the only thing that I thought he did do silly just before we do leave is he should have signed the first initial contract because this contract that he signed is only for COD. The first contract was going to be for a multitude of Activision Blizzard games. So I thought he shot himself in the foot a little bit there. But in saying that, he probably only cares for COD because that's usually the Activision game that's in the top 5 for them over on PlayStation, and that's fair enough. He got what he wants, secured that for the next 10 years, like Nvidia and everybody else. Nintendo's even coming to the party as well, and yeah, I don't know what some people. I was just going to say, I don't know what some people are going to talk about once it is finally done, because there is a lot of commentators that have been non-stop about it. I'm like, what are you going to talk about? You're going to have to find
back to games. People back to games.
That's where some of them will be. No, some of them will be lost, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, some of them will be like, what do I talk about now?
Yeah, they won't have any content. It's like, oh my God, we actually have to...
Yeah, we actually got to scour the internet and find stuff gaming related, really, to talk about, like upcoming games and stuff.
It's like all those... It's like all those podcasters that made bank when the Johnny Depp trial was going on. And then as soon as it ended...
As soon as it ended, nothing. Dead quiet, yeah. But that's all, folks. I hope you've enjoyed the content tonight. I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their evening or day, wherever you may be in the world. I know if Pyro was in here, it'd be early morning time over there in England somewhere. But yeah, we will see you back here next week. Otherwise, we will see you on Wednesday evening. Good night, everybody.